Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous, and welcome to the Twin Peaks Thought of the Day for Sunday, September 10th, 2017. My co-host today is Mandy. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Nick in the chat came on immediately and said that this is the first Sunday that we don't have Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Kind
But
of
we've
a,
got this show. We've got this show. So there you go.
it's true. It's true. It's kind of a bummer. But
Yeah.
I do want to say it's not the first Sunday because there were a couple of weeks where we had some time off,
hmm
so we did have a break in there. But yeah, it's unbelievable. This is the first like official Sunday where there's no new Twin Peaks coming out at least anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. I have this feeling. I have this feeling, Mandy. And call me an optimistic person, but I have this feeling that around the time that Mark Frost's book is going to come out in October, we're going to start hearing rumblings, if not an actual decision either way.
hmm
I don't think Showtime can just leave it in limbo.
No.
They're either going to say it's coming back or it's not at this time. But they're not
hmm
going to just say, well, we don't know. And
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I don't think there's. I just have this feeling that something will come out eventually, but um, we'll just have to wait and see what they say. But
what's your gut tell you?
my gut tells me there will be more.
There's quite a few people who've contacted me lately saying it's not coming back. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't come back.
hmm
However, I would be shocked if it doesn't. There's too much left open. And yes, I understand that could be a thing to make people, think and dream about the show forever. I get that. But there's too many little things dropped in that last part. And I'm not even talking about the Richard and Linda stuff. I'm talking about the fact that they brought up Donna Hayward and they brought up Bobby Briggs shooting the deputy.
Yeah.
That's
hmm
not something you bring up if you're not going to explore it later down the line.
I would think so too, because that scene with Laura and James on the motorcycle, it's quite long. Like there's a lot of dialogue in there. There's a lot of things they could have cut out of there or different things that they could have added if they wanted to, but they specifically brought up two people and one significant event. So why would they do that?
Well, there's a lot of questions. Why would they do lots of things in this show? But
Yeah.
but I do. I don't know. I don't right now. I don't believe it. I don't believe that it's just not coming back.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't think it's gonna come back as an 18-hour series.
No.
Well,
I don't think they'd spend as much time as they did, but I can see them doing, like a 2-3 part events or something like that. But yeah, I don't know if we're in the denial stage yet or what it is, or we're
it's
still
not.
mourning
It's
the
not. It's not.
loss.
It's not denial. It's not. I mean, look at it from a business perspective. Showtime doesn't want to lose all those new subscribers.
Yeah, that's true. hmm
So they're going to want something. And they're probably going to want to work with Lynch and whatever his demands are,
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to want to do 18 hours again. That's just not going to happen.
hmm
But what they could do, like you said, do a couple standalone movies for the cable network, not feature films. There will never in a million years be another Twin Peaks in the multiplex.
No.
It's not going to happen.
No.
However, that does give him freedom then on the cable network to do what he wants to do.
hmm
It also, I honestly, I see them doing like a 6-episode limited series.
hmm
That's doable.
And I'd be fine with that too, as long as they, in the hopes that they would start, they'd clean up a few things.
Honestly, I was fine when they announced it as the series was a 9-episode series. I was fine with that because 9 episodes was the equivalent of season 1, and we all know that season 1 is all killer and no filler.
Yeah, for sure.
So I had somebody contact me today, which is absolutely hilarious. And he said, maybe Lynch and Frost really only made 9 episodes, and we're supposed to watch 2 at a time. Well, we're gonna get into that in a little bit here. But yeah, it is a little sad that there's no new Twin Peaks tonight, and yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, this week has, been videos as usual. We've been doing the thought of the days. We didn't do the watch alongs yet. That's mostly my fault, just because as I said the other day, I'm not ready to do that, because if I do that, then this particular return is kind of over in terms of that kind of series of videos. But at the same time, though, I'm still kind of taking it all in, and I really don't feel like I've fully taken it all in. Although I've been, reading everybody's theories and ideas and stuff like that, and God bless these people. I mean, they're coming up with all kinds of amazing, crazy things.
Yeah.
I don't know if I see eye to eye with all of their stuff, but that's what's so wonderful about this show and David Lynch, and even part 18. As frustrating as part 18 is, it is cool to feel like everybody saw their own episode of part 18.
Yeah, for sure. And really, if we don't get anything if we don't get another series or whatever for another year, the amount of stuff that's been written will take us a year to get through anyway. Like, there's so much out there. There's so many long articles, long theories, Twitter threads, all these kind of things. Like, if we actually just sat down and made that a job, is to read through all this stuff, it would take a very long time, which is cool. So what other show has this? I mean, what other show out there are, having that many discussions about all the time?
You underestimate the upcoming Will and Grace reunion.
Apart from that, of course.
Don't underestimate the fans. All right, they're going to come in full force. Yeah, it's and the great thing about it is, and I know this sounds like kind of like a BS answer, but it's true. Like, everybody's right. I mean, if there's probably some people that are wrong in terms of, if they're just way, 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 way out there, but for the most part, if you can make it make sense to you in any way, shape, or form, then that's the correct thing. I had somebody contact me today saying, well, Cameron, you just don't understand Mulholland Drive if you don't think it's a dream, because at the beginning of the film, it clearly shows, Betty or Diane, or whatever, putting her head down on the pillow. And I'm like, well, that's, again, your interpretation of it. In fact, it's a very popular interpretation of it. I understand why so many people believe that theory, because it is sort of like cut and dry. First 90 minutes is a dream, then Cowboy says, wake up, and she wakes up, and that's her reality. And if you want to look at the movie that way, that is amazing. That's fantastic. God bless you. I'm not saying you're wrong, but that's just not the way I see it. So, And people have been hounding me saying, when are you going to make a video about it? I am going to make a video about it. However, I was trying to get through all the Twin Peaks stuff before I tackled Mulholland Drive in the middle of it.
Yeah.
It only makes sense. But yeah, it's been an insane week. It's weird because I'm comparing it to the week leading up to the return coming out. It's kind of similar. In a different way. I was full of so many emotions that whole last week. In fact, I did a video every day building up to the return coming out. And I was just like up and down, up and down, up and down. And now it's the same thing, but now I have the information.
Now we have to process it.
Are you kind of the same way? Or, has this been like just a wild week for you?
It's kind of all consuming. Like, I'm trying to work and I'm trying to type up agreements and documents, and all I'm thinking about is Laura and Cooper and how does Sarah hit that picture without breaking it, and what does this mean and what does that mean? It's in my brain, like it's in a lot of my brain. So yeah, now that we can see it as a whole and hold the whole thing in our hands, it's going to take a long time to kind of go back to normal and not be so obsessed with this, So, I mean, we'll see. But yeah, I'm just, it's just all I think about. I tried to watch like a different movie today just to kind of chill out and think of something different. And it's still like, oh, I see a parallel with Twin Peaks there and this and that. So it's everywhere, but it's great. So
it is everywhere. I mean, I left the house this morning to, go do my Sunday errands, go to the grocery store, pick up some stuff for the week ahead, get some gas in the car, and I'm like just thinking about Twin Peaks on the road. And I'm just like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Supposed to be watching for pedestrians and red lights. And I'm thinking about Cooper and the White Lodge, if that is indeed the White Lodge, and things going on there. It's weird. That's one thing I love about these thought of the day videos is they're all so different. Sometimes we have a lot of news to get through. Sometimes it's just discussion points. Sometimes in the case of this, it's just like after show therapy.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let me try and look it over my notes here as to which thing to tackle first here. Okay, let's I guess let's address Sabrina Sutherland today on Reddit, not Twitter, Reddit. And she did you catch any of this?
No, I just saw the one main tweet that everybody's sending out.
Okay, so it's not really a tweet on Reddit.
Well,
yeah,
the one comment.
The one comment. But anyway, she did kind of a Q&A on there. And one of the things that was brought up, let me bring it up here. This is Dougie's Coffee. That's a great name on there. Wrote to her, there is a link going around that composites, actually there's several links going around, but that composites episodes 17 and 18 together so that the scenes and dialogue overlap. Was this the intended way to watch these episodes all along, or is it just a happy accident that they work together surprisingly well? Sabrina answered, this is definitely not the way to watch these parts. Now, what is your gut reaction to that?
Absolutely, because I watched it yesterday. You sent me a link. I watched it and I was like, no, forget it. I got probably 20 minutes in and it was not syncing the way I thought it should or why everybody was getting so hyped up about it. So I skipped to like the important parts. It still wasn't really doing anything for me. So I was like, no, it's just one more person trying to create something out of nothing. Even the scene with the girl in the roadhouse that's screaming when Cooper electrocutes himself. Like it's just, I don't even believe in coincidences, but it's just coincidence, I think. So
Mandy, you're bumming me out.
I know.
So Bill in the chat says, it's not a Q&A on Reddit. It's an AMA. Ask me anything. Okay. Sorry. Sorry, I didn't get the official name. Here's the thing. People are running around now like a chicken with its head cut off saying, no, that's not how you're supposed to watch the episode. It's not how you're supposed to watch the episode. I'm surprised, honestly, that Sabrina answered the question that way. Because if it was Lynch, he would have said, however you want to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Listen, do I think that was intended to be that way for the full episode? No, I don't. Do I believe that there are several sequences in this series that completely match? Well, of course. I mean, we've seen evidence of that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I firmly believe that the girl in the roadhouse and Dougie stabbing. I mean, it's perfect. Or him and Naito in the White Lodge and the Sam and Tracy getting killed, with him in the box and then they're in the other room and then they come right. That has to match because it's the same time and place, right? I mean, that's what's happening in the other room. So they had to match it. Now, the thing is that they did this purposely in, at least as far as we know, a few choice places, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you do that, that's going to make fans check everything.
Yeah.
And we all know from a lot of Lynch fans that we're all going to see what we want to see, right? So do I think people are going overboard by linking up all 18 parts on different cell phones and watching them, simultaneously? Maybe. But should we deny them that way of seeing it? No. Like, if that's the way they want to, rewatch it, I say go
Mm-hmm.
for it. You may see something that the rest of us have not seen.
Yeah.
So I think her answer is actually more of a, well, that wasn't the intended way to watch it, but that doesn't mean that you can't watch it that way.
Okay.
Don't you think? I mean, there's
Sure.
That's it.
Yep.
Nothing else to add?
Know. I mean, specifically with 17 and 18, when you're watching them together, I did not find hardly anything that actually matched up. The Sarah scene with the this is the water, this is the well thing, sure, that's really cool. Even the Roadhouse and Dougie thing, sure, it's kind of cool. Sam and Tracy, part 3, sure. But to think that they would actually have 2 different parts running simultaneously together, I just don't think that's a good idea. So,
well, I don't think that's happening. I mean, not the whole episode, but I think there are parts that completely sync. And listen, if it was like the old episodes, I would probably agree with you for more than I am at this point, because a lot of the episodes that do sync up all have crazy editing, where things are moving forwards and backwards, and you know what I mean? Like it's all jumpy, right?
Yeah.
Well, when things are jumpy like that, you can coordinate better. Now, if you were trying to, like, say, if Lynch was like, okay, we're going to direct this scene so it completely matches with this other scene. No, that's not really going to do it. But if you notice, like, the scenes that do link up are all with, like, the jittery editing or things that can be cut in a place where it can match up. So it's not like they were sitting there on the set matching this up. But I think they said, well, you know what, we need to maybe synchronize a couple things here and there. So they made things go forward and back. I mean, all that stuff with, like, Nido and Cooper, where they're going, and all that jittery stuff. Well, that's stuff that you can manipulate in the editing so that it does sync up with whatever you need over here with the Sam and Tracy stuff. So I'm just saying, like it's not like they synced up the Norma and Ed stuff with some other random scene over here. It's like the things that are synced up are the scenes are manipulated in editing to be able to sync up. But anyway, I mean, listen, if you watched all 18 episodes simultaneously on 18 screens, you're gonna have a different experience than someone who watches it once a week over the course of 3 months.
That's very true. That would actually be kind of interesting, just to.
I know, it'd be like the opening
experience.
It'd be like the opening party scene of Less Than Zero, which, by the way, was written by Harley Payton, who of course did some Twin Peaks episodes. But yeah, I was surprised by her answer, honestly. But I think that she was, in a hurry to answer everybody's questions, that she probably is not, like, thinking, like, how should I totally word this? So I think she just kind of meant, no, we did not intend for the entire episodes to be synced up like this. But notice how she didn't say, we didn't intend any of it to be synced up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. What else did she say? Was there anything else that was interesting that came out of that?
She said that if you want to see more Twin Peaks, let Showtime know. I don't know why we need to let Showtime know. Showtime's already said they would do more if Lynch said. So people should be tweeting Lynch, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. And even going back to, like, the beginning when you were talking about bringing it back and stuff, like, 2 million is still a decent number, right? Like, in today's world, is 2 million subscribers, 2 million viewers streaming. Is that still pretty decent?
That's about the equivalent of a CW network show. So, but the Vampire Diaries went on for 8 years. You know, Supernatural continues on for 13 years. You know, there's lots of shows like that. But and Showtime is cable, so it has that going for it. You know, is it the best the show could have done? No. Is it the worst it could have done? No. So,
what is that in compared to other Showtime shows? Because most of them are not.
I don't really know. Yeah. Showtime doesn't really isn't really known for the best quality, and that's why I think they obviously they had first dibs over Twin Peaks because of their affiliation with CBS. But I think that's why they agreed to do it, because by getting Lynch and Frost on board to do Twin Peaks, then I think what Showtime wants is people who have like a great idea for a show to come to them first, as opposed to going to HBO or Cinemax first.
Right.
Like, look, we let Lynch and Frost do whatever they wanted. So come on, and we are a cable network that supports, you know, creative types, and so we'll see. I mean, maybe they'll look at Twin Peaks and be like, "Oh, maybe we went too far," and let them do whatever they want to do. But time will tell.
Yeah.
You sound really bummed right now.
I mean, I really want more, right? And it's the waiting process is hard. It's like we've waited all this time for something, and then we got something that's so good and so spectacular, and the thought of it, you know, I can resign myself to a dream theory or whatever. Like there's a lot of different ways I can resolve the ending myself internally so that I'm okay with it. But when I see some of the crap on TV and on cable and all the money being put into these stupid shows that are so awful, that don't start discussions, not like Twin Peaks is changing the world, but it sure is opening people's minds to.
But those other shows don't. All right, I'm gonna have to tread on water here. They don't take as much thought as something like plotting in of something like this.
So are people still not ready to think?
Oh, I think that's been humanity forever when it comes to television.
I guess I just really want it back. I want more. There's so many things that they can do, and I'd be pretty sad if they didn't, especially if the final dossier is the only thing that we're getting, because if history repeats itself, or history textbooks repeat themselves, I may not be overly thrilled with that book either. So we'll see.
Oh, let's not be gloom and doom entirely on this Sunday night.
No.
Well, let me throw this out to you, because I already know my answer. If Showtime came out and said they're not going to do another Twin Peaks, but Lynch and Frost are doing a whole other series for Showtime, interested or not interested?
Always interested, yes, because I love them as collaborators. I love what they do together, specifically Twin Peaks. I have not seen On the Air or Hotel Room, so I don't know what they're like outside of this world.
Hotel Room is not Mark Frost. That was Barry Gifford, who wrote the book.
Oh, really?
They wrote Wild at Heart, the book, and then co-wrote Lost Highway, the movie. So.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure, but that's not what I want, but I'll take it. What's your answer?
I would be interested because of the parties involved,
but
I would be heavily disappointed.
Yeah.
I just think that there's more material here for them to explore than to just drop it and start anew.
And you know what?
And let's be honest here. It's not like they went back nostalgia land with this series, right? They basically gave us a brand new series using a lot of the same characters. But a vast majority of the series was original locations, original characters. So in a way, I mean, they could do something in the Twin Peaks universe, but not have it be necessarily Twin Peaks. You know, I still would be a little disappointed in that, but I would be happier if they were working within this established world. The only other way I would be okay if they changed it up would be if Lynch, this will never happen in a million years. Never. But Naomi Watts' TV show on Netflix got canceled.
Wow, that was fast.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great? This will never happen. Wouldn't it be great if Lynch on Showtime gave us what Mulholland Drive was going to be as a series?
I'd be okay with that, but would they make it about Audrey like it was originally intended?
No.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. What I find confusing and puzzling about part 18 that keeps sticking out in my mind is that, you know, Lynch went on for so long about, and he always has, he's always talked about how Laura is the focus of everything. You know, Laura is the one, blah, blah, blah. So he finally gives us Laura, kind of, in a different form with a different name, and then just shuts the whole thing down. I feel like he did a disservice to her. And from what I know of him, obviously not personally, it doesn't seem right that he would do that to her. So that's what leads me to believe that there is still more, that he set it up. He kept us waiting. He set it up, but his goal is still to create another world with Laura. So could that be what the next season is going to be? Like, employ Cheryl Lee by not just having her picture in the credits every time. She's the most talented actress I've ever seen. Like, throw her in there and really go after this Laura story. I love what they did with The Return. I love Dougie. I love the Mitchum brothers are amazing. Fusco's, all that kind of stuff. I love that. But he always goes on and on about Laura, and she's not really there. So let's do that. Let's bring her into this. Hi. This is Angelina. Can you go away, please? Let's focus on Laura. Let's put our focus back on her. Do you know what I'm saying? Did you find that weird that she just kind of...
I honestly expected Cheryl Lee to play a more, when I say crucial element, I mean, she is crucial when you think about the last couple episodes, but I kind of expected her to be throughout the series, and not necessarily as Laura Palmer. You know, of course, we as fans had heard speculation that she was going to be playing the third cousin, you know, with the red hair. That was talked about as being in the third season if they had come back in the fall of 1991.
Where did anybody get that from?
Various interviews. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah. That Shirley was going to come back. So I think a lot of people, when they saw that TMZ footage, which of course ended up being the final scene of the show, which is absolutely hilarious to me. I remember showing that footage, going, "Okay, guys, let's not get ahead of ourselves. This may seem like a spoiler, but this isn't a spoiler."
Yeah.
Because we knew Shirley was in it. We knew Kyle was in it. We assumed that they would shoot something at Laura's house. And we knew that, you know, Kyle and Cheryl probably would have a scene together. So in essence, it's not really a spoiler because we don't know the context of the scene.
Yeah.
Okay. God, I was full of crap. Because now, looking back on it, it totally was a spoiler. Now, people contacted me, I remember at the time saying, well, oh my God, Cameron, what if this is the final scene in the series? And I remember saying to them, it can't be. No. Why would Lynch and Frost shoot the final scene of the series in front of an entire neighborhood of people? And Kyle's there signing autographs and everybody's taking pictures, and they have tons of people not only taking photos, but people are doing Periscope videos and YouTube videos. And there's no way this is the final scene of the series. In fact, it got to the point where I thought maybe Lynch and Frost specifically shot something to test how far, interest was going to be with this show, and this was never going to be in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was wrong. Oh, I was wrong. But if you look at it logically, you can understand where I was coming from.
Yeah.
And then when the show ended, I was like, oh my God, I saw the time and I saw where we were. And I'm like, holy jumping George.
Holy jumping George.
They are showing one of the first things we saw shot is one of the last things we see in this series. That was a huge surprise. And I apologize to anybody that saw that footage, or anybody that, because we discussed that footage before on this podcast many times, but even before, I honestly didn't think it was going to be the last scene of the series. I honestly thought, if anything, midway. I thought, the way I looked at it, I thought Dougie was going to be around for maybe 2 episodes, and then we'd get Cooper back, and then Sheryl Lee would come into it, and then the dominoes would fall in the back 9. I didn't see most of the story playing out the way it did, but that was part of the charm of it. But yeah, it was shocking and surprising that I mean, I understand, like, they couldn't listen. It's a TV production. They maybe not have been able to do like a Hollywood thing where they block off everything, but man, there were a lot of people there that night that saw the ending to the show.
No, I remember I found the girl on Instagram that had the video of Cooper and Laura, and I like screenshotted it, and it was like on my phone background for like a year, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is something, like this is Laura and Cooper in whatever incarnation they are. Like, it was so exciting. And then as the episodes went on, it's like, well, Dougie's dominating this whole show now. And obviously Laura's not going to be around until Cooper comes back. Plus she gets whisked away like right at the beginning of episode 2.
Right.
So yeah, it was, but it was fun waiting for it. And then when we actually see it, it's still just as beautiful, right? Like, I really love that scene. I love what they did with it.
I didn't feel like the scene was ruined. For me. I mean, Mark in the chat is saying that, like, even from that footage, we knew it wasn't Sarah Palmer answering the door. And I agree with you totally. I thought, because this is the way a lot of Hollywood productions are, they use stand-ins a lot. So I thought maybe, as a thank you for the people owning the house, that they were going to let, maybe the woman who owns the house to stand in for Sarah Palmer for the shots on Cooper and Laura. And then when they cut back, it was going to be Sarah. Right. I mean, they do that all the time, just so that Kyle and Sheryl would have an eye line, but that wasn't the case either. And that's fine. That's great. But yeah, we didn't know the dialogue, so that was great. But we knew about the scream. I mean, I knew about that because there were reports all over that neighborhood saying they heard Sheryl Lee screaming over and over again. And I was thinking, oh my God, are they going to go into the house and then she's going to die again like Madeline in the living room or something? I was horrified about that, but no, that didn't happen. But yeah, so I knew about the scream, and I knew about, obviously, the lead up to the door.
But even the screaming isn't even a spoiler, because Sheryl Lee literally in every scene she's in this entire show screams, right? Like, that's just what she does. So the excitement of not knowing what the context was, that was what, like, I wasn't bothered by seeing this again, because I had no idea what they were going to do with it. So
no, and it was a great scene.
Yeah,
it was it was just a fantastic way to close out the episode. Any issues I have from watching part 18 has nothing to do with the way they ended the show. I mean, a lot of people complain about the way they ended it.
No,
I love the last scene. I think it's the, and again, I'm not saying it's bad, because again, I have to rewatch it a few times, but I was more thrown by what happened before that last scene than the last scene itself. Another reason why I think it's coming back, because I don't think that Cooper doing this is going to be the last image we ever see of Cooper. Like, like walking towards Laura's house going, what year is this? I mean, that's just not the final image that you want to have of Dale Cooper,
Yeah. Yeah, there's too much. There's too many weird things that it just, from what we know of Lynch, like I said, like it just doesn't make sense for them to end it like that, I don't think. But what do we know? Again, we've been wrong every single time for everything.
Not necessarily true. We have not been wrong every single time.
Well, 90% of the time, wouldn't you say, at least?
I think that we've gotten the order of things wrong, but I think that there's a lot that we've gotten right as well. Benjamin wrote in saying, regarding the final scene of Twin Peaks, when Cooper leans slightly forward, it matches the way he leans forward when he is trying to exit the Black Lodge. And then, yeah. Interesting.
Well, and what's interesting about that whole thing too, someone else had been talking about that today, which I can't remember the context, but when I was rewatching it yesterday, you know, all of a sudden he walks down the hall and he puts his hand out and starts waving it, and the curtains start waving. I'm like, when did you learn how to do that? We have never seen that before.
But
So
he's had 25 but he's had 25 years to master things.
Yeah.
See, if there's one unfair thing that happens in part 18 and a little bit in part 17 as well, Cole seems to suggest at the beginning of part 17 that plans have been in motion for a while and he's been holding this back from Albert. So it almost feels like when Cooper goes up to Diane in the sheriff's station, and he says, "Do you remember the whole thing?" And she says, "Yes." Or, "Do you remember everything?" And she says, "Yes." See, the first time I'm watching and I'm thinking, oh, he's asking if she remembers the whole ordeal of being attacked, being turned into a tulpa, being trapped in wherever she in the lodge or as a Nido or whatever. That's what he's asking her about? Just making, do you remember everything? Because he was hoping that she'd come out of it not remember anything. But I think in reality, he's clarifying with her. Do you remember the plan we came up with? Do you remember everything? Because we're about to go full force with this plan. And she confirms, yes, I remember everything, because I think they've been plotting in the other world, in the other dimensions, and Lynch and Frost holding everything so close to their chest, they didn't really tip us off to that too much, right? Because we've been dealing with Diane's tulpa the whole time. But it would have been great if we'd gotten, like I said to you and Ann the other day, I was always under the impression that Cooper was trapped in the lodge, and he says in the missing pieces, "Where am I and how can I leave?" So I always thought that he just wants to get out of here, and come what may, but just first things first, let's get out of here. Now it's quite apparent that he only wanted to get out of there to stop the doppelganger, and because he's now not just like, I'm going to go back to my life and become an FBI, stay an FBI agent. It's almost like he's now risen in the hierarchy of in the lodge. He's now an agent of the lodge.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Lynch and Frost want us to know in the 25 years that's happened that a lot has changed. Even though time seems to be so fluid in there, where Cooper doesn't even seem to know like what time it is or where he is and all that. It seems like, like when he comes out and says, "Are you Freddy?" Like obviously the fireman or giant, whatever, have been in cahoots with Jeffries and Cooper and everything about like, I'm going to be putting people in place. I'm going to make sure the key is there for you. However it happens, I'm going to make sure Freddy's there. And so it's like this whole like conspiracy that's been going on that we don't even know anything about, which kind of is, it's something that Lynch kind of pulls out of his hat at the end and it's like, surprise. But it would have been awesome if we had kind of maybe gotten hints of like even Hawk talking to Truman or something saying, things are in motion. I'm not at liberty to say just what yet, but things are like if Hawk had been involved, or he was getting things, because he's talking about his living, breathing map, right? It would be cool if he like was getting hints, or if the log lady was dropping hints like it's almost time,
Well, she kind of was. I mean,
A little bit.
she talked a lot about stuff, and you know, the whole like watch out for the one that's standing under the moon or whatever. Like they didn't do anything with that, as far as I can tell. If anybody knows, you know, who it was under the moon, or if that is in reference to Laura when she's outside with James, I don't know. But it's just there were a lot of things that didn't make sense, and um, this plan that Gordon and Garland and Cooper had done, Diane wasn't a part of that.
Oh, I agree. I'm just saying,
So,
I think they've retconned that and made her a part of it.
oh, okay. Well, I think Diane should have just stayed in the Black Lodge, but that's just my opinion. I don't like what they did with her
Well,
because
I know
they didn't explore enough of it.
some people get upset with me when I say that if Diane wasn't Laura Dern, we would not have been dealing with Diane as much as we were in this season.
I was actually, and I don't know if you're right. I'm totally fine with David Lynch wanting to use his most special girl. That's fine. I think she did a fantastic job. I loved the way she played Diane. I loved the story of Diane right up until the time that Diane gets shot, goes into the lodge, evaporates, and boom. Then I was like, okay, she had a great run. This was perfect. See ya. And then she comes back with the red wig and is the dominant character of every single scene that's happening, and it made no sense to me.
Like, it would have been cool if maybe Cooper was driving by himself in the car and he's just like Diane, only now he's got modern technology and she's on the other end talking back to him as opposed to just him dictating. That would have been cool.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I understand people are throwing out this whole Jack Parsons thing with the, you know, with the sex acts and stuff like that to conjure up, you know, the other dimensions and evil and all that stuff. And yeah, I'm sure that plays a part into it, but that's almost like, you know, Frost trying to make sense of of the wacky ways Part 18 went, as opposed to like, okay, because if that was the actual intent, then I feel like they would have laid some more groundwork in there so that the just even not just the casual viewer, but the intermediate Twin Peaks fan would be able to kind of have some sort of footing. I mean, if one thing is clear is when you watch the original series, even Fire Walk with Me, as surreal and as confusing as things get at times, you always feel like you're in safe hands. Like like you may not understand what every line is about, or maybe what this scene is about, or this crazy thing that Jerry and Ben do over here is about, but you feel like the filmmakers do. And sometimes, you know, when you deal with like Inland Empire and some other stuff that Lynch has done recently, you know, it feels, again, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's a different thing. It's not starting like this and then adding elements that are surreal, right? It's just like throwing paint on a canvas.
Yeah.
And then you start chipping away, and it's a different way of working. Right? I'm not saying one way is better than the other way, but he made the original Twin Peaks and Fire Walk with Me in this way, and he made the new Twin Peaks this way. And I think what happens is the people who didn't like it, they can't understand the space in between. You know, because it is two entirely different shows.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and some people are saying, oh, the return is far better than the original show. Well, yeah, if you're looking for you know, like complete abstract mysteries and things like that, yes, the return is that. But if you're looking for the small town with the seedy underbelly and all that, and that kind of Blue Velvet stretched out to 30 episodes, you're gonna like the original series more.
And you really can't compare the two at this point. You
can't. No. In fact, what it is that this is, like I've said, this isn't season 3. It's Twin Peaks season 25. Yeah. And a lot has happened in between, and we just didn't see it.
And I don't like I don't like the fact that it would have been better to read and study the secret history of Twin Peaks before going into this. Someone had mentioned that. I was reading an article about the whole sex scene thing and about how there's stuff about it in the book. I don't want to have to read a book before I watch a show. I don't want to have to learn all this stuff, especially when you know that David Lynch had nothing to do with the secret history book. It was kind of like Mark Frost's rogue project that he did. So to me, it's not part of the actual basket of Twin Peaks. So it bothers me when I hear people say, "Oh yeah, well it's in the book," or "That's in the book." It's in the book. With The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer, like Jed Lynch did a fantastic job. The book it's stunning, but I didn't have to read that in order to fully understand the show or Fire Walk with Me. It added to it. It made it better, but it didn't throw out weird mythology crap that we wouldn't even know to look for. You know what I mean?
I love that. I love that book that Jennifer Lynch did.
Yeah.
But that book is not canon.
I think it is more than The Secret History of Twin Peaks, but that's probably just because I'm a jerk and haven't finished it yet.
What I'm saying though is that if you know, it's like when I was talking with her, I said, when they did Fire Walk with Me, did you think they were going to adapt parts of the diary? And that's when Jen told me, my dad never read my diary. So how it can't be canon when you have other material come out like Fire Walk with Me that negates so much of what is in that book.
Well, there's no way David Lynch would have read The Secret History of Twin Peaks either.
Or what about the Agent Cooper, My Life, My Tapes? I mean, it's him and Sam Stanley investigating Teresa Banks' murder, not Chet Desmond.
I only read that book once. I was never able to find it, but I had a friend who had it, so I borrowed it and read it really fast. The stuff about him hating birds went on for far too long, but was hilarious. And then, but it was, I didn't really like that either. Did you like that book?
How do I say this without not being mean? I really appreciate what Scott Frost, brought to the book.
Mm-hmm.
But you could almost tell that this was a book that needed to just be done. Whereas I think Jennifer Lynch's book felt like a passion project that, yes, I think it needed to be a tie-in merchandise thing, but it seemed like she put her heart and soul into that. Whereas the other book felt like, well, we got to get a Cooper book out. Let's get it out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And again, I don't think it's a bad book, but if you compare the two, you can see like who had their heart to the material and who just kind of needed to get the book done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and we're talking about two completely different bloodlines too, right? I mean, you couldn't expect anything less from a Lynch kid. You know what I mean? Like, obviously they're going to put everything into it. And she did a stunning job. It's a beautiful book. It's hard to read sometimes, but it's still beautiful. And the Cooper one is it's just kind of,
well, I'll never forget the Christmas that book came out. My mom was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be giving you this or not, but it was in my stocking. I was like, yes, the Laura Palmer diary. And she's just like, I don't know if this is really appropriate for Santa to be giving to you. And
how old were you at the time?
I was 14. But my mom to this day will still write Love Santa on some presents, and it's hilarious. But yeah, so Santa gave me the Secret Diary of Laura Palmer because my mom didn't want to write Love Mom, and there it is, so
she just makes Santa a dirty old man then.
Yeah, pretty much. The best thing about the Laura Palmer diary is that if you ever meet Jennifer Lynch, it doesn't matter if you're male or female. If you ask her to sign an autograph the diary, she will. And she does a lovely job doing it. But then she'll flip to the middle of the book and she will add your initials to the people that Laura has slept with. Manny doesn't like that idea.
No, I don't. It's a little dirty. But
Well,
that's okay.
I'm quite all right with that. So
Anyway,
Manny doesn't like this kind of talk. um, let's see here. L in the chat says, no season 4, no movies, nothing more. He's dead. Get over it. Wow, chipper.
my response to that is no.
Thank you so much for coming into our chat and bringing such positivity with you. Oh my. Mark says Laura is the muffin. Bill says Laura was the dirty one. Don't blame Cameron. Okay, let me get to a theory that I came up with cruising around today, getting some lunches for this week. I was thinking about Ronette Pulaski.
This better be good, because I'm PO'd at what they did with her.
Okay. Since time is fluid in the lodges, right?
Okay.
Right? I mean, at the end of Fire Walk with Me, Laura's in there crying. She's got the angel, and Cooper's already standing there with her.
Yeah.
He hasn't even, theoretically in time, he hasn't even been there yet. But,
Right.
Sort of like the end of Lost, where they go, there is no now, or it's all the same time. Okay. My theory is this: since Cooper went back and got Laura, right, and they were troops into the woods and she disappeared and all that, what was happening at that time? Well, Leland was on the hunt. So I think Jacques and Leo took Ronette to the cabin, and Leland still went to the cabin and found Ronette there and probably killed her, and probably did so in such a way that they could not recognize her anymore. And so therefore in the credits, she's just American Girl and not Ronette Pulaski.
That's pretty good.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing I can think of. And
yeah. That's really good. Hold on, I gotta process. This is crazy. Wow. Okay, I like that. But at the same time, he wouldn't have needed to kill Ronette. There was no point.
Oh, I didn't say there was a point to it.
Fair enough.
I just said that he was there at the cabin. And there is, a girl that was affiliated with Laura, and he still attacked Ronette anyway. I mean, yes, Laura was there. He took them both. He could have easily just knocked Ronette out there and just taken Laura. He took them both. Because
he likes to kill people.
Well, really. Not really. I mean, he waited until he was like mid-40s to take out his first victim. Wow. Teresa.
But he got a taste for it then, right? And I don't, okay. But anyway, I like that thought, because it has always baffled me. Like, why are you using Phoebe Augustine, which I'm super happy about? Give her a good part. She did fantastic in her scene. And then you call her American Girl and she's never seen again. Like, I didn't like that.
So right now that's where I'm leaning.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure this theory will now be set on several different podcasts and videos. Please give me credit. One thing that makes me laugh so hard are like videos we make where we say things, and I see people in the chat that are on other podcasts and videos, and then I'll watch their videos and podcasts. And then they bring up this theory as if it's something that they just magically came up with. And I'm like, I saw you in the chat when I had that discussion. I know you heard me.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's why I love the internet so much.
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah. Okay, say your theory one more time then.
No, I just think that because Leland went to the cabin,
right,
and Laura wasn't there, so he could have just killed Ronette Pulaski in a fit of rage to the point
Yeah.
where they couldn't recognize her as Ronette Pulaski anymore. And so therefore she would be American Girl as being like Jane Doe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that.
That's all I can come up with, because I don't know what Cooper was thinking, because as much as a great scene as it is, why go back to that moment in time? Yeah, it seems like, yeah, you're intercepting her, right? And maybe he thought, well, if I go to the woods, I can get her and take her to Jack Rabbit's palace, because that's, you know, we're going home, is what we talked about the other day, is you can't take her just home because Leland's still there as Bob. So let's take her to the White Lodge because that's where she was created. And if Cooper was in cahoots with the giant, then he knows he needs to bring her back there because that's where she's safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I'm working.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I like that one a lot better than just taking her home and kind of letting her still, because taking her home in 1989 in Twin Peaks does not solve the problem.
Solves nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, again, if they had done it in a way where he, again, intercepted Leland from getting possessed by Bob, that changes everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Then Laura could go home and be with Leland and Sarah. And that's what, honestly, what I kind of wanted. I'm not bashing on the series because I didn't get that. I'm just saying that, like, that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted Leland to be spared, and I wanted Laura to be saved by that, so that when Laura went home, then her family would not be in such devastating ruin. I mean, regardless of whatever you think about the ending, the meaning, that last scene of before Sarah starts, or, you know, or we never see her face, but we assume it's Sarah, stabbing the picture. Before that happens, those sounds of the moaning and the wailing, it sounds like the lions attacking that whatever, caribou, whatever, you know, she's watching at the beginning. That is the sound of despair, of horrible despair. And it's so scary. And it's like this, you know, this woman who just, you know, she had a daughter that was murdered, and her husband's the one who did the murder and killed other people. And she's left alone in this house for 25 years. And whether she knew about it or maybe she hates herself for not knowing anything about it, it's completely eaten out her soul to the point that she's just a shadow of herself. Cooper has been fighting his shadow self for 25 years. She has become her own shadow self.
So that's how you interpreted that scene then? You didn't see it as like defeat?
No, I think it is defeat, but it's the culmination of that much pain and sorrow, and not knowing how to respond. So just taking out aggression in any way, shape, or form, because kind of reminded me, did you ever, this is kind of ridiculous, but did you ever see The Passion of the Christ? And at the end, when Jesus is on the cross, and you see,
really interested as where you're going with this one.
No, because you see, you get an overhead shot, and then all of a sudden, like, this one drop of water, almost like, you know, God like has one tear come down, right?
Yeah.
But then it does this like cut where you see the devil just like screaming and going crazy, and then it cuts back, and then we're back to where we are in the movie, and that's the last time you see the devil. It's almost like the devil has not been defeated at this moment, but this is the beginning of the defeat of the devil. And that's what this scene reminds me of. It's not the actual defeat, because if you look at the plot, if it's true, she does kind of win for a moment, because she does manage to displace Laura to another place. But it is the beginning of the end of Judy, or the mother. And so she recognizes in herself that the end is coming. So this is her last ditch attempt to screw things up. Anyway, I mean, who knows what who knows what I'm going to think next Wednesday? But right now, that is kind of like where I'm at.
Have you still only seen them once?
I've seen parts of them several times.
Okay.
But I haven't sat and watched start to finish of both. So, and in fact, when we talked about on Friday about the simultaneous, watching 17 and 18, I thought, oh my God, we're going to have to do 3 watch alongs, one of each separately and one of them together, which I might still actually do just because it's fun. And I think the last scenes really work. I think that last scene really, really works.
I'll have to watch that again. It's on my computer now. I'll have to watch it. I still has anybody deciphered what's playing in the gramophone in the White Lodge at the beginning? Like that one scratch sound?
I don't know. It's just a sound effect,
I know, but that's what comes again when Laura's whisked away again.
Right.
Or when she lets go of her hand, and
it cracked me up.
The key, right?
I was watching Pete Pepper's video of 10 things you might have missed about part 17, and that was the first thing. The scratching sound came from the phonograph from part 1, and I was thinking, okay, if that is something that somebody missed, then they're not a Twin Peaks fan.
Well, they haven't been paying attention.
Well, that's true. So I was thinking, is he making these videos? Again, this is nothing against him because I think he does a great job with those videos. Yeah. But I'm almost thinking, I think he's making those videos for the people who have never watched an episode of Twin Peaks in their life.
Could be, or the ones who have only watched through this one time. Like
true.
There
true,
are people,
but that's not. I've always been kind of like funny about these videos. I always thought that, we're all Twin Peaks experts, everybody from us on the videos to everybody in the chat.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if you're not sort of a David Lynch Twin Peaks fanatic, like that's almost the first step of coming into these videos that you have to first you have to be a decent person, I think, and then you have to be a Twin Peaks David Lynch obsessive. And God bless new fans. I love new fans and that type of thing, but I've never really wanted to be that podcast that has to stop and explain like who Pete Martell is. Like I want to just that this
Oh no, really? He didn't do that, did he?
No.
Okay, good.
No. But I know there are those that are out there that do that. And again, that's fine. And I'm not complaining about that. I think that's great. If that's your audience, that's you gotta play to your audience.
Yeah.
But I've always said if I was going to do one of these Twin Peaks shows, it was going to be basically for the fanatics.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it just cracked me up because I was watching that video going 10 things I missed about 17. I can't wait to hear about this, because there's a lot of things in these episodes that we probably all have missed. Mm-hmm. But I guarantee you that every single person in the chat right now, and you and me and Annie and anybody else who watched, and Eric and Dirk and whoeverybody else, Hal, Frank, none of us missed that sound.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying. I was like, oh man, it's going to be all 10 like that? No. Because I wanted to see like 10 things of like, this person picked their butt in this scene that reminded me of this scene over here, like.
Yeah.
Not the scratching sound, but anyway. I kid. Okay, let's see. So that's my American Girl theory at this moment, which
I like that a lot.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And it makes sense why she's in the lodge, because she's dead.
Well, right. Okay. Yeah.
And it explains why she's in the White Lodge, because the angel came for her.
But is that the White Lodge? It's the Purple Lodge.
Who knows? I
know. But yes, I follow your yes. I think that is a good theory that we will never, ever get confirmation on. But I wish we would. And if they do more, like, oh, please bring back Phoebe Augustine.
She's another one that shows up at, the conventions a lot or the festivals. And so it was kind of a bummer that she wasn't given a little bit more to do.
Yeah.
But
still, there's the whole Ray Wise thing too. That's just like,
oh, people really agree.
It's just a bloody shame.
People really agree with us on that one. I was,
it is. It's
a
shame.
I wasn't surprised, but I was relieved to see so much support of like, yeah, they did kind of, screw up Ray Wise a little bit.
Well, and because once Leland is in the lodge, Bob's out of him, so he's back to being a decent person, right? He's just a regular person who's not being possessed by pure evil. So there's no reason why, like, you know, when Mike goes to Dougie and says, don't die, don't die, like, that could have been Leland. Like, you had said that. Like, we
Right.
could switch back and forth between Mike and Leland. Or even, I mean, hell, put Phoebe in there too. Like, that there's different agents.
It would have been great. It would have been great. I agree with you. If they had had all the people that had gotten hurt by Bob through this whole tragedy helping Dougie to wake up.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
And not just Mike, because even Mike at the very end, now all of a sudden you're like, I mean, Mike is still like on the fence sometimes. You still don't really know.
And I'm okay with that. I'm really on okay. He seems like he's just out for like himself, whatever in the moment.
Yes.
And he's a lodge spirit, so he's not to be trusted. He hangs out in that Black Lodge all the time. But
exactly.
Yeah, it would have been great though to have, like you said, Ronette, Leland, hell, I'll throw it out. And yeah, Madeline. All of them. Because she's in the Black Lodge too. I'm Maddie.
Oh, that would be so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
there's another thing Shirley could have done.
There you go. And yet, and like, well, no, that was just her doppelganger. I understand that was a doppelganger because, you know, in the series, Leland ends up put the ring on her. So, you know, but let's be honest here. They didn't think of the ring at the time of the series. That was an addition for the movie.
He put the thing under her fingernail, though. Isn't that close enough?
All right. Yeah, it is. But I'm just saying, but it is technically her doppelganger in the Black Lodge. But still, I would have loved to have seen Madeline Ferguson. Mm-hmm. Give Shirley something to do. I know she can do it.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and I love.
She can do anything.
Listen, Laura Palmer's a great character. I love her. I think she's equally as good as Madeline in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And much like Cooper doing Dougie and the doppelganger, I can't even comprehend that Madeline and Laura Palmer are the same person sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, you know, she flashes that Laura Palmer smile, but the whole point was that she kind of looked like her anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, when she's tiptoeing in her pajamas, undoing like the bedposts and stuff, finding audio tapes, that's not Laura.
Yeah.
And I love, and I really love that. So anyway, let's see here. Jared says Mike has problems because Bob stole his cream corn. Eric says, I want to hear about Michael Onkeen. Don't depress us with that. Listen, I would have been okay with Michael Onkeen not being in it if I'd gotten some sort of resolution with him. Anything, you know. But much like everything else in the series, again, this is not a complaint. I hate that I have to say that all the time, but it's not a complaint. This series introduced like 100 million things and resolved maybe 5 of them. Mm-hmm. And that was another one that just kind of got thrown out there. I'm still trying to figure out what was the point of following Ashley Judd home for.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, what does that tell you about her character? Okay, it tells us that she's got this like dying husband, and maybe that's why she's flirting with Ben Horn. Okay, now what? Oh, nothing? Oh, okay. That's my only issue with that kind of stuff. It's like I'm really intrigued by the scenes. I like the acting. I like the writing. I like the direction. I'm all on board.
Yeah.
I just want us to go somewhere with it, as opposed to introducing me to. Listen, I understand, like, you know, next up, Audrey's dance, and having it be like this surreal moment where I don't understand what's going on. That's great. That's great and fantastic. But if you're going to introduce normalcy, like this woman works at the Great Northern Lodge, she comes home and she's got this dying husband and she's flirting with Ben Horn. Could we maybe, I don't know, explore it, since you've taken me down that road to explore it anyway?
Yeah.
If you don't want to explore it, I'm okay with you not exploring it. Just don't introduce it to me.
Exactly.
You see, does that make any sense?
Absolutely. And that's why I've said before, there's, you know, people don't want to admit it and people can be mad at me or whatever, but there's a lot of stuff in there that now that we see the whole puzzle, you can take a couple pieces out of there.
Okay, so Bill's in the chat saying, do we need things wrapped up? No, I don't need everything wrapped up. But what I'm saying, though, is you can't to just leave everything open for the most part. For the most part. Not, I mean, obviously they closed the doppelganger thing. But I mean, for the most part, everything was left open, and that's fine in terms of thinking and dreaming and that kind of stuff. I'm okay with that. But I'll tell you one thing: I will never think and I will never dream about Beverly and her husband. So I would
exactly.
like
What's the point?
I would like a little bit of closure to that, because that is not something that I'm going to be pondering the universe about. So that kind of thing should not be left open. And if you're not going to deal with it, don't introduce it. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. If they want to, do a season 4 and he's actually some sort of weird possessed agent of the lodge, sure, that's fine. But this literally went absolutely nowhere. If
Bill says, sorry to interrupt. Bill says Beverly was temptation for Ben. Temptation for what? For temptation for what though? He's estranged from his wife, or they're divorced, or whatever. So it doesn't really. So what? I would have loved to have seen Ben Horn outside of his office. Remember those great scenes in the series when he would just go walking down the hallway with that big cigar?
Yeah.
But I don't think they had the money to be trooping around the hotel, so they just kept him. I mean, if you listen, I got to tell you, whoever did the set for his office did an amazing job, because it is the exact same like layout as the original series. The only difference is the room is not a set; it's an actual room. So if you notice, like, everything matches perfectly, except now it's like 6 times smaller than it was in the series.
And there's no stairs leading into it. No, I'm pretty sure they shot that at the Salish Lodge.
They probably did.
I think so.
Either that, or they used the
or Bainbridge.
Yeah, or maybe one of those. But yeah, I mean, it is to the T.
Yeah.
In terms of his office, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. But it is so small.
And yeah, like, introducing Ben and Jerry doing all these wacky things, and there's this resolution of, kind of a resolution that Ben has to go pick up Jerry now because he's in Virginia or whatever like that. That's fine. You can have little pieces of them sprinkled throughout, but the Beverly thing, what other ones are like that apart from the Roadhouse things? Like, we won't touch that, but are there any? Well, in Steven too, like Steven and Gersten, like, how did that happen? Did he actually kill himself? And Carl too. What did Linda ever get her wheelchair?
Cause in the chat says Beverly's last name is Page, just like Carrie. What? Well, wonderful. But again, it doesn't connect it in the series. It connects it by the end credits.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't really care about Gersten and Steven and all that nonsense. I'm more, as I've said before, wondering why in God's name is Renee telling Shelley, everybody loves Steven. That is what upsets me the most about that whole plot line, because I don't understand where that line came from.
Yeah.
That says to me that Steven is seemingly like the perfect guy, but he's Leo Johnson underneath or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Right? Steven is like a sparkle crack fiend through this whole series. There's not 1 ounce of that anybody could look at this guy and think that he was even intelligible. I mean, he looks like, one of those drugged out people you see like in the bus depots in the bathroom, throwing heroin needles everywhere. I know Renee didn't have like the happiest apparently marriage either, but she's single now.
Well, yeah, right.
I mean, Freddie killed her husband, so I mean, she's single for James now. So,
but even that was
again, that's another thing that like is introduced, and there's, I mean, not that I need a resolution, but there's just like, it's like 3 scenes total, and there are 3 scenes that don't really connect to each other.
Yes.
So, yeah. Again, I'm not complaining, but these are things you can notice.
And if people can do 20-page essays about different theories about this and that, then, we can voice complaints about certain things too. It is what it is. Like, I wanted to know what happened to James too. How did he end up being a security guard at the Great Northern? What is this accident? Did he kill someone? Was it Donna? Why is he quiet now? Because he wasn't that talkative before. So, you know, there's just a lot of things that are unanswered. And
So apparently, Sabrina Sutherland in the Reddit AMA said that Annie was never part of the script.
Who?
That Annie was never
Annie.
That was never part of the script. And I'm going to say no comment on that. Maybe I'll talk about that in a little bit, but that's I believe it. I don't think I think she's completely telling the truth, and that makes me want to like throw a bunch of things out my window right now. But that's another story. Let me just throw this out there. I'm sure you guys already know this and you've seen this posted online because I posted it on a couple different pages over the weekend. Scott Wilkinson, who is a regular viewer on these podcasts, he sent me pictures showing me Laura's painting and the interior of the new girl room at One-Eyed Jack's. Same wallpaper. When Ben comes in there to seduce the new girl who ends up being Audrey. Same wallpaper. I like that. I like those little touches, because then that allows you to think, it allows you to dream. You know, it's like, you know, you're able to, that's where the real thinking and you know, dreaming come from, you know, where you're able to connect this thing to this thing and you imagine the space in between. When I look at Renee saying everybody loves Steven, to her crying at James singing Just You, to her going on the floor looking at her dead husband, I am not thinking and dreaming about that space in between. I could really just care less. I would like a little bit more to it if you're going to bring up that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. The original series had tons of in-depth exploration of men and women not happy in their relationships and their thought process and how we got from A to B to C. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like it. I don't know. A 200 plus cast may have been a little too much. May have been a little too big. I think that that's why so many people, like, I'm not condoning this, but this is why I think so many people have been contacting me about like fan cuts they want to make, so because there is so much you could cut out.
Yep.
And it wouldn't affect the overall story at all. Now, some people will be like, "Oh my God, it's horrible. It's all about the journey." It's all. Yeah, I agree. It is all about the journey, and it's great. But you know, Ingmar Bergman made Scenes from a Marriage 5 hours. He made Fanny and Alexander 5 hours. But then when it came to the theater, they were 2.5, 3 hour long movies. So he is able to cut out 2 hours of his work. So I think it is doable for somebody to take this 17, 18 hour plus thing. If someone wants to make a 5 hour cut of it, by all means, go ahead and do it. And I'll bet you it will be very tight. You know, I mean, there's a way. Yeah, you're going to lose a lot of the other stuff. But you know, I mean, if no one wants to sit through, most people aren't going to be sitting through the 18 hours. I don't know. I've heard from so many people too that were like, well, now that I know that so much goes nowhere, I'm not going to watch the whole thing again. Like they said, oh, we'll watch parts of it, but we're not going to watch all of it.
No. See, that's sad because it's regardless of how we feel about the ending and different bits and pieces and stuff. And yeah, Beverly's husband and what the hell and all that kind of stuff. It is still fantastic. Every part of this entire season or whatever the heck it is, it's a beautiful, complicated, well-structured piece of art. It's incredible. We should be watching this on a regular basis. Could we make fan edits? Of course we could. But as a whole, it's still really good too. I know it sounds like I'm going against what I'm saying, but I think overall it's still a beautiful thing altogether.
And like I said the other day, you know, I mean, we're all family here. So we can talk amongst ourselves and say things that we liked or we didn't like, or things that, you know, that we wish could be changed, or things we didn't think were necessary. But that doesn't mean that I would give it up. You know what I mean? Like if someone said, well, well, now that we have it, now if it was in the writing stage, that's another story. But if it's like a completed thing, and someone said to me, well, well, then take all this part out. It's like I wouldn't do it. See, I wouldn't make the fan cut like that. I like the whole thing, but I do go, well, if they'd done this, they could have like tightened this up over here. They could have done this over here. But that's just, that's what's going to happen with an 18-hour saga. I have so many things in Fire Walk with me. Like, I almost should do a video, 10 things I wish were in Fire Walk with me. Because I love the movie Fire Walk with Me. But there is some crucial stuff not in it. And it wasn't even, I'm not even talking about the missing pieces. I mean, there was stuff that's crucial that they didn't even script for it, which is probably a good thing since they had to cut the whole thing down to 2 hours and 14 minutes. But there's a bunch of stuff that I can critique that for that movie not including big stuff that so while I watch Fire Walk with Me and I love everything we have in it, there is a part of me sad for what is not in it. And I'm not even talking about the missing pieces. I'm talking about just stuff they didn't include.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll probably work on a couple of videos. Now that this Twin Peaks is over, I'll probably be going back and forth and doing all kinds of stuff. But as you can imagine, we have tons of people commenting. Greg says, I'd understand it more if Renee said that everybody loves Zombie drilling scorched engine oil in a jail cell. But Steven?
Yeah.
Bill says, Cameron, in a painting, when you look at it, do you ask yourself, this painting would be better if I just cut some stuff out? That's kind of like the Amadeus thing of like, oh, I thought it was too long. Oh, it's too many notes. Which notes would you cut out, sire? No, I don't look at a painting and say which, but again, a painting is not an 18-hour thing. If you have like plot structure, I mean, if David Lynch and Mark Frost took this 18-hour thing, okay, this is never going to happen, but they took this 18-hour thing and went to a movie studio with this script, the studio would be like, we're taking out that, we're taking out that, we're taking out that, we're taking out that. And that's what happens in the script development stage. Frost and Lynch didn't have that. They got carte blanche to do whatever they wanted. Okay. That does not mean that everything they did was perfect. Because when you have that much free reign, sometimes you do go a little overboard. That being said, I enjoyed everything we got in the series.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved everything we got in the series. But now that we have seen the whole thing, you can look back on it and say, okay, this went nowhere, but I really liked it. I really liked this aspect of it. And then there's some stuff like, I don't know, like we were talking about Beverly and her husband or something like that, right? Okay, that went nowhere, and it didn't add anything to the story, right? Except just to show that she was in a loveless marriage. But we could have gotten that just from the way Ashley Joe is portraying her character anyway. Right. So yes, there's some things like Annie was talking about, like, like the sweeping broom thing, or other people, right? I love that sweeping broom thing. Yeah, it goes nowhere. Yeah, the Jean-Michel stuff goes nowhere, but I wouldn't give that stuff up because it's still showing you the Roadhouse is still doing what the Roadhouse does. Right. Whereas there's other stuff. Yeah. I could, if it had been snipped out like in the editing stage and I hadn't seen it, we wouldn't have missed it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they shot that is not in this series so far, right? And people haven't missed that because they don't know what it is. See, now that you know what you have, now people can say, oh, we can't lose this, we can't lose that. But we did lose a lot of stuff already. We just don't know the scenes yet. You mentioned the other day that there was this potential fight scene between Shelley, Bobby, and Red. I'd like to see that. Now, getting to that, Kyle MacLachlan did an interview the other day on Q on CBC on YouTube. It was kind of like a half-hour chat. It was pretty good.
Yeah,
it was pretty good. There was a couple of questions that I wish had been asked, but and of course they weren't asked. But I think overall the questions were good, and I think that Kyle really, he wasn't doing his Kyle on Facebook Live just being silly and cheesy, you know, he seemed like he was actually answering the questions.
Yeah.
And if he was really answering the questions, that's when I would have asked him some other questions that the interviewer didn't get to. But it was very nice to see. And one of the things that Kyle talked about was that we are going to potentially get either on the Blu-ray or a separate release altogether, a huge comprehensive making of this series, which shocks me.
Yeah.
That's not Lynch's style at all. Yeah, we got a little bit of Inland Empire stuff, but not a comprehensive, huge thing. I mean, listen, he's not going to be doing any interviews about it, but that's interesting. I'm glad. I honestly thought that we were going to get a Blu-ray release of just the series, and you know, maybe some of the teasers that they put out or whatever. But I didn't really think that we were going to get like a huge, you know, set for it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make you excited?
Oh, completely. I was totally happy to hear that. I wonder if part of the motivation behind that is just that, you know, there needs to be some enticement maybe for some people to actually buy this, because a lot of people walked away from this. A lot of people gave up. A lot of people are saying they're only going to watch it once. But extra features are, they're pretty alluring. So I'm hoping that it's good enough. I can't wait. I can't wait to see behind the scenes stuff. I kind of like that we've never really seen stuff like that for Twin Peaks, because it's still, it doesn't make it human. You know what I mean? Like when you can see, I showed my nephew Labyrinth years ago when he was a little bit too young. He got very, very scared. So I turned it off halfway through and I said, look, we're just going to watch this. It's all about puppets. So he watched the puppets dancing and the guys, you know, wearing the black and moving the heads and stuff and shaking the heads around and stuff like that. And then he was like, oh, okay. So it brought a reality to him so that he could watch the rest of it. And he loved it. But with Twin Peaks, we don't have like, you know, Kyle going up to the camera going, woohoo, what's up? You know, like he's just, we don't have anything like that. It's just the show. It's sacred and sealed and
I don't know. I'm actually okay with that. I like the show just being the world. So that's why
I do too. But that's what I'm saying. Like deleted scenes or not deleted scenes, but behind the scenes stuff. I'm afraid of losing a little bit of that reverence for it. Maybe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
it's still cool though.
Listen, I love this series. The Return. But a huge making of isn't going to ruin the magic of this new series, because God, you know, it's so hard to like say this kind of stuff without offending everybody, but the new series does not have the magic of the old series.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So while I love the new series, okay, let me just say this. Season 1 is different than season 2.
Yes.
Fire Walk With Me is different than both of those seasons. And The Return is different than all of those.
Yeah.
Okay? They exist in the same universe, but they are not the same feeling. Every single one of those is a little bit different than the other one. Okay?
Yeah.
The Return does not at all feel like the original series. That's both a plus and a minus compared to who you talk to. Mm-hmm. That being said, if I was to see like a 30-hour making of or something of this thing, which we're not going to get, let's say it's like a 2-hour thing, whatever, because it's not a Rob Zombie movie. If we got that, then you know, I don't know. I don't think it's going to ruin anything, because there isn't a lot of. There's very little like, I don't know. I mean, because it wasn't like this community and this town. It was all these isolated stories unto themselves, and you know, it was more
fair enough.
It was more like Robert Altman making shortcuts over here than it was, you know, Nashville over here. So yeah, I don't think it's going to ruin anything. If anything, it'll just kind of illuminate a little bit more of Lynch's process, and hopefully it'll be uncut. And when I say uncut, I mean I want to see Lynch running around cursing up a storm like he is on the set of Inland Empire. I want to see this. If they were smart, Showtime would release the footage of him directing Julie Cruz to negate her story.
Oh dear.
But that's what I would do. If you leave that stuff out, people are wondering.
We don't know what happened.
No, we don't.
But could there be footage? Yes.
If they're saying they have a comprehensive making of, that means they shot everything and that they will edit it later. But I don't even want to just see them making it. I want to see the boring stuff. I want to see Dwayne Dunham in the editing room going, oh crap, how much footage do we have here? And having to construct these things.
My gosh, I want to see him do a scene where he's doing the stop motion. I'm so obsessed with the stop motion in this thing.
Yeah.
Even when Mr. C's at the phone booth, I'm just like freaking out. And at the end, when he's at Jack Rabbit's palace, like every stop motion scene is. I'm so fascinated by it.
And some people are making fun of the way like Diane's tulpa is like doing the thing with her mouth and everything like that, and the jaw.
That was scary.
Listen, yeah, it was supposed to look like that, people. And people are saying like, oh, they're complaining about the special effects. Lynch did that because it looks like his earlier films. It looks like the alphabet. It looks like Six Men Getting Sick. You know, it looks like that style. It doesn't look like Lynch ran out of money.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it was a really good chat on with Kyle on there. Some people may ask, well, Cameron, what would you have asked? Well, since he was answering questions and being super honest about stuff, what do you think I would have asked, Mandy?
I can't even. You just go.
I would have said, so Agent Cooper is your favorite character. So how did that come up? Can you tell me the thought process of how you kind of took advantage of being this character, that you were this character, and now you love this character, but right after the doors, you didn't love this character because you didn't want to be a part of Fire Walk with Me. Tell me about the process of, I don't want to be affiliated with Agent Cooper because I don't want it to define who I am, to who you are now, where you're okay with Agent Cooper defining your career.
Okay. Well, at that point, I would fully expect him to be like, "Screw you, buddy," and move the mic and walk away.
No, that's an honest thing, don't you think?
No, you know what? Maybe he was.
I know the answer. I know the.
It was 25 years ago.
Listen, I know the answer. I don't need him to tell me the answer. I already know what the answer is. Mandy, what is the answer?
I'm not. No.
The answer is that he thought that he was going to go on and do a lot of other things, and he didn't want to be tied to this TV show that went falling into the netherworlds of nobody watching it. Yeah. And the doors gave him that extra perk. And also, let's be honest here, he's dating Lara Flynn Boyle at the time. Lara Flynn Boyle is not too happy about this whole thing and everything was happening on the set of Twin Peaks. So he says, I'm going to go back and do a Fire Walk with Me. Is Audrey going to be there? No, she's not. Okay, well, I'm not going to, you know what? I'm not doing it because there's nudity involved. That was one of the big things that she said no to because she didn't want to do the topless scene. So there's nudity involved. I'm not doing it. And if I'm not doing it, you're not doing it too. And Kyle, no one wants to ruffle Lara Flynn Boyle's pants back in 1991, 92. So I think that I think the culmination of him not wanting to do it had to do with him wanting to do more with his career and also not tick off his girlfriend and Lynch, I can give you 3 days.
I always thought that she didn't do it because she wanted to do Equinox and work with whoever directed it because he was so awesome. I don't even remember. I don't even know who it was. Well, that was the reason. No, because in 91, I remember this because, I was Twin Peaks obsessed at the time. I almost said Maura Kelly. Lara Flynn Boyle was on Arsenio Hall in 1991 in the summer promoting Mobsters. And she was saying that she was a pain in the ass on that set because she insisted on them getting a body double for her topless scenes because no self-respecting actress would ever do a topless scene. And of course, this is the same time that they're shooting Fire Walk with Me. So that was it was a carryover as well. Jeez. So, but I mean, I it's just kind of funny that like nobody ever asked Kyle. It's always about the return and how wonderful it is to play Cooper and Dougie.
I want to know the nitty gritty. I want to know just like his thought processes of like, I wonder why, because he said him and David are friendly, which I believe, obviously. But isn't it just kind of interesting that between 1984 and 1992, they worked together on Dune, Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me, and then nothing for 25 years. So I think Lynch, in a way, was a little peeved at him for a while. And I think that part of this return was about him and Kyle getting back together on the same page. A lot has changed between both those men in their careers and in their personal lives. And I think this was, when it talks about the return, I think it was also the return of Kyle and David and Laura. And that's why I say at the ending, towards the end, when they're walking down the hallway, it's, you know, on a story level, it works, but on another level, it's David Lynch walking down a stark black hallway with the two muses of his professional life, Kyle MacLachlan and Laura Dern. And that aspect, if you break the fourth wall and look at it, it's wonderful. It's too bad that Naomi Watts wasn't there too, because that would have been like the trifecta.
Naomi Watts has done one movie with him.
No,
that's it. And she was in a rabbit suit, but
yeah,
that doesn't count. She is not one of his people. That's like saying Patricia Arquette is one of his people. He loves Patricia Arquette. He has a name for her. He has a name for Naomi Watts, all that kind of stuff. But everyone that keeps saying about how Naomi Watts is a Lynch girl, she's not. She was in a movie.
I think people think that she's a Lynch girl because, with the exception of Children of the Corn 4, no one had ever really heard of her. And that was her breakout thing. So
sure. And that's fine. But that's the only thing. She's not a reoccurring person in his stuff. I was very aggressive there. I'm very sorry. I don't know what my problem is, but I'm just like, that it bugs me. Like Laura Dern, absolutely. But Naomi Watts, no. So,
I'm checking the chat to see if they are screaming at me yet about something. People are saying I should get Kyle on the show. Yeah, that would be great. Although, I don't know. I mean, there are some people that like, I go, oh, I really love to interview them. And there's other people where I go, I've seen enough interviews with them to know that I'm going to get those answers.
Nothing. Yeah.
Same thing. Like people say, oh, wouldn't you love to talk with David Lynch? Of course I would. I would love to talk with David Lynch. Is it my dream to interview him on this podcast? No. I mean, it would be great if I could, but he's not going to answer me about anything. So
exactly.
And honestly, I wouldn't even ask him questions like that. Like anything that would be about meaning or interpretation, I wouldn't even ask him questions about that. I would ask him about, the practical reality of shooting a scene or something, not about, what did you intend with this? I mean, if you were to ask David Lynch about the opening credits of Fire Walk with Me, he's never going to admit that, like, oh, I did that as a statement about this is no longer the TV show, it's now a movie, and bash the TV, because I mean, it could mean a million other things, but I mean, that's primarily, the majority interpretation of it,
Yeah, you would have to talk to him as the director and not the visionary or the artist, because you wouldn't get very far. Ask him the technical stuff, yeah, but the stuff, and Kyle was talking about that too in that interview, that everybody should just go watch anyway for their own amusement. But he said again, like, the guy asked him about the ending, and he's like, David likes to leave things, he likes to let people find their own interpretation about stuff, and so that means that we aren't going to get an answer. He also said, he asked him to, like, or Kyle had said, I don't remember if he offered the information, but he's like, yeah, no, there's been no talks about season 4 or anything like that. I don't actually believe him, because he has been known to, I wouldn't say fib, but he would never be able to say either way. So
everybody in show business lies.
Sure.
But but you know what though? It's not like he's lying outright where people hate him. I mean, he could just say, well, there's no talks have been happening, because as far as he knows, maybe there's not. Maybe Lynch isn't on the phone with him every day going, you know what happened today, Kyle?
Yeah, exactly.
So he just kind of throws it out there like, well, I don't know if there's talks happening or I haven't heard anything, because he probably hasn't heard anything, but he probably has gotten, he probably has been told by Lynch, keep your schedule free.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Because remember, when Twin Peaks originally was on, and this blows my mind. Again, this is like, now, it's something that happens a lot with TV shows, but when Twin Peaks was originally on, and they were getting ready to do season 2, Kyle was signed to a 5-year Twin Peaks contract. I can't even comprehend the idea that in 1995, 1996, we could have been on Twin Peaks season 6. I don't think the decade would have allowed that show to go to season 6 in the 90s. No. So it ended where it did because it needed to end at that moment. Mm-hmm. And Showtime's, not someone who's going to lock you into a contract for years, but at the same time, though, I could see Lynch and Frost saying, it'd be great if we could do something. Would you mind just making sure you have some availability around late 2018, early 2019? I can see that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's see here. People are talking about Lara Flynn Boyle. Joey Pedras is in the chat, and he says he loves this stuff. He loves the dirt, man. He loves the dirt. And he also wanted to let us know that David Lynch is coming out with a memoir in February. So I will be sure to pick that, because I love the Lynch on Lynch book that came out. I love it. It's great. Yeah, and in that book, he actually is answering things, which is great. And I don't need him to answer and explain everything, but I do like the fact that he's not like trying to hide behind trying to be clever. I love just when, just answer a question. Yeah. Like it's like Jay Leno would be like, were you a pretty straight kid as when you were a kid? And David Lynch goes, I was straight as an arrow. It's like, yeah, it's clever, it's funny, but it doesn't really, it answers it, but it doesn't, you know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I don't need to be like, this is a representation of this, and this means this. I just, I love this idea of Kyle MacLachlan in darkness, walking out of a dark hallway and coming into the light. That just is very nice to me and appealing as a viewer. Like, that's enough for me, I'd like to see something like that. Mark says Lara Flynn Boyle was a pain in the ass. I wish Moira Kelly had played Donna in the series. I wish Moira Kelly had been in this series.
Yeah, that would have been. I really like her.
Honestly, okay. People are gonna be like, no. But I would have loved it. I would have loved it if James singing Just You, all that, the Roadhouse, if they had done a pan away shot to him and the two girls had been Madeline and Moira Kelly as the backup girls. Like, in his mind, there's Donna and Madeline still backing him up after 25 years. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
And if they could have put Phoebe Augustine in one scene, then they could have put Moira Kelly in one scene. Mm-hmm. So anyway, let's see here. Now they're bashing Jay Leno.
Oh, jeez.
They're like, Jay Leno is a backstabbing a-hole. He was just mocking Lynch all the time. Lynch went on his show like 20 times. He was hilarious on those shows. And people are also saying that Kyle also appeared on the Today Show and the interview was pointless, which I understand, because the Today Show is designed for who? Like, idiots. Like, I love the Today Show, but when he's got to show up and do the entertainment hour, usually the 9 to 10 slot, people are doing their laundry and, they're not, they're not really paying attention. So they're not going to go deep into Twin Peaks analysis. They're going to be like, so what was it like, wearing that lime green jacket?
Yeah. He was on a Canadian show that's kind of like The View called The Social the other day. And I taped it and I was just like, no. You're not dealing with people that actually know this show and that can ask proper questions. And then, of course, there was this pie eating segment. This one girl who was apparently a huge fan. She's freaking out. It was so adorable. And she had made him 3 different pies to try on the show. what's he gonna say? This is garbage. Like obviously he's like every pie, like, oh, so she made a key lime pie and like a lemon pie or something like that. And he's like, oh yeah, this was very good. And then they're like, oh, so rate it after. Well, no, obviously he's gonna say he loves them all. So anyway, it was embarrassing.
100 Z Man says today's show is designed for people who like Sex in the City and Desperate Housewives. In Cause Baldwin says Cameron in 2017 declares that today's show is designed for idiots, and I love it. It's kind of true. I love the first hour of the Today Show whenever I catch it, but that 9 to 10 slot is designed for people who are either just complete couch potatoes or people that just have it on in the background like radio while they're moving across the house. So I apologize if I offended you if you are a Today Show idiot. I'm just saying that like it's not designed for people. It's not the Charlie Rose hour, okay? Bill says he hopes that Kyle has more pie eating coming up. You know, he barely even ate any pie in the series, so I don't know. Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, Mark says I want to be a complete couch potato. Well, it's not hard to do. So just sit on your couch, I guess. But yeah, no, it's just so bizarre, like just being a Twin Peaks fan at this point, because we're going through all these crazy emotions, and everybody else who wasn't watching the show is like, "What's your deal?"
Yeah. Yep.
George says Charlie Rose is the man. I rewatched his interview with Lynch from '97 recently. That's a great interview, the Lost Highway interview. It's really, really great. Mark says barely. Kyle had at least 3 slices. All right, are we getting technical here? Now he's listing them off as to like which one, where he had all of them. So, but like I said, you know, these podcasts aren't going to stop, even though Twin Peaks at this moment has stopped. Even though I don't think it's going to completely drop. But Mandy, there's one more thing I want to talk about. But is there anything you want to throw out and discuss before we get to that?
No, I'm still drained and fluffy headed over all this stuff. So no, let's go for it.
All right. So last thing I'm going to talk about is something that kind of, well, it's been on my mind for a long time, but it's something that just kind of popped up again in the last day or so. And that is, so back when I was a kid, a wee little lad at 15, 16 years old, Twin Peaks was over in 91, right? And I always thought, oh, it'd be great to do sort of like, you know, when I was in high school, like a little film about it. And then I heard that they were going to do Fire Walk with Me. So I was like, okay, cool. So then I saw Fire Walk with Me, and then it cut to 92. I was like, oh, it'd be fun to make a little like, you know, high school production of something in that world. And there were lots of kids at my school that kind of looked like some of the people and stuff. And I live kind of like near like a wooded area and that type of thing. So I thought, oh, that'd be great. Never materialized. I ended up just doing a bunch of other stuff. And then somebody contacted me and said, hey, I found an interview you did back in 2007. And I was like, oh, I know what you're talking about. And and that is at the time in 2007, I was doing interviews for a film that I made that actually never got officially released, but is kind of everywhere. It's not online though, but a lot of people have seen it. Anyway, so I was doing an interview for that, for a now defunct website, but the interview is still out there. And they were asking me, what are you working on now? And I said, well, I'm working on a bunch of other stuff. But I said, well, one thing that I am kind of working on is, and this is around 2006, early 2007, I guess. I had been in touch with Lynch Frost Productions about doing a short film, if not like just like a small like hour-long thing, you know, for festivals, whatever like that. And I wanted to license out a few of the characters, not big characters. I mean, obviously there's Cooper, but I wanted to license out Wyndham Earl, Caroline, Annie, and Cooper, and I wanted to do the story of Wyndham Earl and Caroline, and then maybe a little bit of Annie and Cooper post whatever was to happen in the After Fire Walk with Me. And I was told at the time, that's a really intriguing concept. We're interested in maybe discussing that further with you, but right now we can't because we're in the middle of working on something. And what they were working on at the time was the graphic novel for Twin Peaks season 3, which Lynch ended up putting the kibosh on. And so that didn't happen. So then in 2013, when I started getting back into the whole Twin Peaks stuff online for the first time online, someone had brought it up to me like, hey, wouldn't it be cool for you to do that short that you'd always wanted to do? And I said, yeah, that would be kind of fun to do. And I let Jennifer Lynch know about it. And she was like, oh, you know what? Maybe now is not the best time to do that. And I was like, why is that? And then, of course, we get the announcement of the Blu-ray set. And then, of course, a few weeks later, we get the announcement of the new series. And that being said, so now, I'm busy doing lots of other things, but it is always something I've always wanted to do. And so, anyway, so someone contacted me the other day and said, hey, I found this interview with you talking about this stuff, which is just hilarious to me. And it kind of brought it back to me. And I was like, yeah, it's so much would be fun to do. I mean, it's not something I can make a dime on, a penny on, or whatever, but it would be fun to do, especially in the context of all this new continuity that they've thrown at us. I'd have to reconfigure a lot of stuff. That being said, I kind of threw out this idea today online, just kind of floated it out there to see just if people were interested. And that is, if we do not get an announcement that the series is going to return in some form, whether it be standalone, a couple episodes, or whatever it is, by the time Mark Frost's book drops in October, would people be interested if I maybe dabbled and made this fan film? And the response so far has been pretty overwhelming. People have been like, yes, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't 100% said yes yet, but I don't want to do it if they're going to make more, because it will not make any sense whatsoever. Even if it takes place in the past, I want them to be in control of their story. But if they're not going to do any more, or if they're done or paused for 10 years, I'm all right with doing it. I mean, I've been going online, watching a lot of Twin Peaks fan films, because every year people make them for the festivals, for the Twin Peaks Festival and stuff like that. And I would love to, throw my hat in the ring and do one. People have been really complimenting the videos. They compliment our ideas and that type of thing. So it's like, okay, maybe people wouldn't entirely hate it if I did do something like this. So I don't know, Mandy, I'm throwing this out to you. Do you think would be a good idea, or are you like, no, only Lynch can do Twin Peaks? Get out of here, Cameron.
I would never say that. Yeah, you know what? Why not? I think it's a great idea. I was just thinking about how there was a series of like teen books that came out after Buffy and Angel after they ended, and there was these book series and stuff. I still think that's great, because it's still letting the creative juices flow about these characters that we love, and you're a filmmaker at heart, like you've made films, so like, why wouldn't you do something that you're completely passionate about, and your ideas are smart? So I think it would be a great idea. So I say go for it.
People went wild. I got so many messages and emails about, and again, I'm not doing this in the film if I did it, but people went crazy about that idea I threw out there about having Mrs. Jackpots be the one who opened the door.
Oh yeah,
people really love that idea, and with Red being the other person, because if you think about it, both Cooper and Laura, or Carrie and Richard, never. Well, I guess Cooper met Mrs. Jackpots, but they never met Red, so they wouldn't know who that person was.
Yeah,
but that would have been amazing if they had ended up being the Mrs. Treatment and her grandson.
Yeah,
at the end, I think that would have been something. But no, that's not in the film, so don't worry. People are screaming in the chat, no fan fiction, no fan fiction.
Hey, you know what? E.L. James started fan fiction, She wanted to write an erotic Twilight story, and it became 50 Shades of Grey.
Okay,
So
this will be much better written than 50 Shades of Grey.
it absolutely will, because it doesn't take much. But I'm just saying, you never know. I read that because, well, I have a Twilight history. But anyway, I saw a little bit of that fan fiction online. I think it was called The Office or something like that. And I was like, this is kind of gross. And so I stopped reading it. And then all of a sudden it became 50 Shades. And I'm like,
Now they're
wow.
mad at you that you're bringing up 50 Shades of Grey in regards to Twin Peaks.
Okay, you know what? It's context, people. That's all I'm saying.
George says Sabrina Sutherland said that CBS would announce something soon about the Blu-ray. Well, yes, of course she did. She announced that on our show a week ago, and you guys just didn't hear it. It's so funny. I had Annie say to me, "Shouldn't you like retitle that video so people know that like Sabrina Sutherland was on your show?" I was like, "Nah, no, that's just for the fans. You know, it's a little special treat for the fans."
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not here to exploit, you know, her being on the show. I want people to come in and watch us and then get a little treat.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think doing a movie, I think that's a fantastic idea. I say go for it.
Now, people are saying that obviously they don't like. Yeah, they said Mandy Riv, very bad example. Now they're they don't. Some people are saying write an outline first and then crowdsource it. I know how to make movies, Bill. I've been doing it most of my life, but it's pretty much done anyway. I'm just I got to just reconfigure like all the new continuity into it. Wilton says, very good question. If you can make films, why not an original concept entirely on your own? Because honestly, I want to give back. Yeah, that's basically what it is. Yeah, I could make my own stuff, but I've always wanted to work in this universe. And, you know, as of right now, Lynch and Frost aren't hiring new directors to work in this universe. So I would love to just do something in this universe. And you know what? People have been making Twin Peaks fan films as long as they've been making. Well, no, because obviously Star Wars is longer, but they make Star Wars fan fiction films forever. You know, when people are into it, and the Twin Peaks Festival does it every year. And I don't see people at the film festival. I've never heard one person say to me, "Oh, when they do the Twin Peaks Film Festival, there's nobody in the audience going, 'No fan fiction.'"
Yeah, exactly.
It's just people having a good time. I've been watching a few of these fan films on YouTube, and there's like all these people from other countries that made them, and they're really fascinating. I mean, you know, they build the red room and everything. It's
wow.
I'm like, wow, man, you guys have a lot of money for something that you can't make a penny on. But and right now CBS has not done what they did with the Star Trek fan films, which is like create this long list of instructions of you have to follow this, and it can't be longer than 15 minutes. And if you're gonna get props, it has to be official props from CBS that you buy and all this stuff. So obviously that's a Star Trek thing, but still CBS does own Twin Peaks as well. So, but there's not a long list of demands from that. But it's just interesting. I just wanted to float it out there, see people how they would respond, and with the exception of some people in the chat, it's been mostly positive.
Oh, that's good. Good.
Yeah, some people in the chat are like, "No, I'll never watch it." Good, then don't watch it.
Oh, jeez.
Don't watch it then. But no one had
exactly.
So I don't know. I just thought it was fun, just kind of throw it out there.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Let's take some more last questions here. Let's see here. Rosenfield 10 says, my fan fiction is 13 hours long and Annie dies. Wow. Well, I definitely won't watch your movie then. Joey says, I had the idea of comedy fanfic from the perspective of Cooper's coat.
What? Cooper's coat?
George says, get Russ Tamblyn on and do a film where the woodsmen invade his podcast show.
Oh my gosh.
And that should have been in the real series.
Absolutely. That'd be amazing.
George says, I'm with you. I support you 100%. again, this isn't a done thing. I'm just saying, like, if they come out and they say, hey, we're going to do a new series, I'm not touching it. But if they're like, nah, it's never going to come back, yeah, all right, then I think it's good enough to do, especially since people do it every year anyway for the festival.
Yeah,
I don't see what the harm of it is.
Mm-hmm.
But Rosenfield 10 is now laughing because he said that Annie dies. So you were asking me the other day about like what is my obsession with Heather Graham? And I was like, there is no obsession with Heather Graham. It's the idea that, you know, they brought in Annie as sort of a character that, you know, Cooper was, you know, he had failed before with Caroline. He didn't know at the time that Wyndham Earle was responsible, but he had failed at the time with Caroline. And Annie was sort of another chance to kind of redeem himself for his past errors. And I was really fascinated by that concept. And the fact that he got her out, but at the same time got trapped in there. It was, you know, it's a happy ending and a sad ending at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I just really like that concept, that storyline. So that's basically what it is. And I just wanted to, you know, and the fact that Annie, you know, managed to figure out a way to time travel back to Laura's bed and warn her, you know, well, that says to me that it wasn't just some, you know, spring fling. I mean, there was there was something to it, and so that's what fascinates me about it. That's all. Mm-hmm. But no, Laura did not write those pages on her diary. So I just want to make that very clear. It doesn't take much to find paper that looks somewhat close to the diary. That was like yellow tablet paper. And people are trying to say to me, oh no, pages would, you know, change in the, you know, sitting for so long. Well, when you're dealing with a show with characters that can time travel and leave notes in chairs, right?
Yeah.
Then don't tell me that pages were left for 25 years in the bathroom stall. Leland, a character who has 5 seconds in the whole thing saying "Fine, Laura," is, you know, stashing pages in the bathroom stall.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe it for 1 second.
No.
Those pages were planted for them to find.
Yeah.
So anyway, Cause says via Twitter, Mark Harris asked Mark Frost, you were trapped in an elevator with one other person. What is the worst way someone can start a conversation? And Mark Frost replied, how is Annie?
I saw that today. That was amazing. I love that.
Greg says, Cameron, so now that your Linda is Coop and Annie's daughter theory didn't pan out, what do you make of Norma talking about her family now? I think it's open to interpretation. Mm-hmm. I do. I don't, you know. George says, I think Philip Gerard planted those pages. Makes sense. I mean, it's not the exact stall, but it is, you know, he's been visiting that bathroom several times. But it was somebody. Certainly was not Leland Palmer on the night of Jacques Renault's murder, planting diary entries when Laura Palmer didn't even, you know, she gave the diary to Harold before Annie visited her. And it wasn't like, I love when people say, oh, you know, Annie visited her several times. Well, the diary entry did not say that crazy girl Annie visited again.
Yeah, exactly. Jeez.
Now, if they had written that, then yeah, okay. But they didn't write that.
Yeah.
So, and Laura would be somebody who would write something like that. Like that crazy witch with a capital B Annie showed up in my bed again with a bloody face and some horrible flower dress that matches the wallpaper and One-Eyed Jack's in the painting.
Jeez.
So, anyway. Let's see. Oh, Hovland says, have you heard about the Bardo theory? I don't know what is the Bardo theory? If you can, write it in quick because we're going to be going in a second. I want to know about this Bardo theory. And I hear nothing. But all right, well, I'm going to be wrapping this up. Hopefully you can get this in there. People are talking about Bobby and the missing pages of the diary. No, Bobby's looking for his missing laxatives.
What?
Well, that he thought was cocaine.
What?
That was a joke, Mandy.
Okay, I was like, how did this get to Bobby?
That's what I'm trying to. Well, people in the chat think Bobby's the one that hid the diary entries.
No.
I know
Bobby,
it's a no,
Bobby
but I'm.
did not even barely. No. Him and Laura were not as close as that she would share diary pages with him.
Oh, yeah.
Not at all.
In the immortal lines of Bobby, you don't love me. You just want the blow. She's
Pretty
like,
much.
she's like, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm done with your butt.
She is a fool. Anyway.
Let's see here. Bill says immediately after death, and the other saying that there must be an interval between the two with the rise of Mahayana belief in a transitional period prevailed. Okay. All right. And Bill says Bobby is always crying, poor baby. No, the only they're now talking about Bobby going to the bathroom. The only person who needs to use the bathroom apparently is Hawk. He's there in all the crucial moments of the series, but when it comes down to the doppelganger in Sheriff Truman's office, which, by the way, unlike Ben Horn's office, has grown like 60 million square inches to the point where his door to his office like fits 20 people. You see all those people standing there?
Yeah.
Right? All right. I'm just saying.
And you know what? You said before, you're like, oh yeah, Hawk was in the bathroom and he comes by and he's pulling up his pants and stuff. He is not. He's just running. He's just running. That's all.
Hunter Z. Matt said Hawk was late because he was too busy reading Flesh World in the bathroom. He was having some fun with his shadow self. All right.
Oh, geez.
All right, everybody. On that note, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, Mandy, so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. All right, guys, we're going to see you later this week. We'll do the watch longs and more thoughts of the day and all that stuff. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to thumb up these videos on all the various platforms and subscribe to the main channel, subscribe to the VidMe channel, subscribe to the Facebook page. Let me know what you think about this idea about doing a fan film, if you even like that idea, or if you just think, no, just let it lie, even though other people make fan films. Just curious. Anyway, thank you guys for joining on the discussion and being in the comments and all that stuff. I love getting comments from you and reading all your just amazing theories and insights and humor. It's just the best. It makes this whole last week of no Twin Peaks and being confused utterly by what we saw in part 18. Everything just makes it like that much easier, so that I don't go crazy. So anyway, guys, we will see you soon. Take it easy. Have a good night.